that Mayo experience.
This is the 2026 Players Championship research, picks, and preview. Smash that like, sub to the channel, because we got some stuff to talk about, including 3 WDs from the Arnold Palmer Invitational. The big one, Rory McIlroy on Saturday. Woke up, went to the gym, as good players do. Get yourself prepped for that round. Hurt his back, had to WD. No idea where this puts him. For Sawgrass, he is the reigning champion. He'd been playing the best of the very top-end guys coming in, was 4 under through his 2 rounds at Bay Hill as well. To quote Rory, while warming up in the gym this morning, I felt a small twinge in my back. As I started hitting balls on the range before the round, it worsened and developed into muscle spasms in my lower back. Unfortunately, I'm not able to continue. So, what does this mean? If any of you are like me, you too have had back spasms. This happened to me last year. I went up, paid a ton of money to go play the Cabot courses in Nova Scotia, played the first round in 45-mile-per-hour winds, 3-degree weather, got completely beat up. The next day, we go to the links. It is immaculate weather. I got pep in my step, go and get coffee, hop in my car, and what happens? Boom! Back goes out. I did suffer through the round because I had already played. Didn't play well at that. I was fine like a week later. Rory is a finely tuned athlete, so hopefully he can get the medical treatment he needs, and we'll see him on Thursday. But this is going to be a huge discussion throughout the course of the week. It's going to impact the odds that are already out in a lot of places. Expect to see a full refurbishing of the odds on Monday morning, and I'm guessing Rory, unless a statement is made that Rory comes out with, he's going to drop from his 9-1, 10-1, a little bit lower on that list, and it's going to be a huge discussion that we're going to have all week on the show, hopefully on the show, because I have a baby that's due anywhere between now and 7 days from now, so hopefully I can make it through all of the Players' Championship content, which includes Jeff and Cust on Monday, Blickle and Tambo on Tuesday, me and Keith on Wednesday, the live chat on Wednesday, Cut Sweat Live on Friday. I'm hoping we get around to all of it. So again, sub to that channel. Turn on the notifications too, in case we have to, in case I'm going live from the delivery room here, doing the live chat, updating all the information. But Rory is the big talking point right now coming into the week. Plus, he's leading in strokes gained approach, which when we look at in a little bit, kind of important at Sawgrass. The other two, less important. Jake Knapp had a stomach bug. He withdrew, much to the ire of most of the people this week, be it in the one and done. I mean, your bets, you got those refunded, but even if you were playing on DraftKings, then all of a sudden, boom, poof. Those lineups are absolutely dead. He did that right after the tournament started, so there was no way to update your lineups. He was right around 20% owned, too. He was one of the more popular players this week. He seems like he's going to be good to go for the Players' Championship. That legitimately was a stomach bug. He couldn't play, so expect Jake Knapp to be back in. People probably won't take him this week because no one likes him anymore because he caused such a ruckus in the games. Now, if you had played on Underdog and did the drafts where there's the rake-free Pat Mayo Classic draft as well, Underdog does give you a substitution automatically in these drafts. So if you're not on Underdog, code Mayo at Underdog right now. Get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. And on your first $5 entry in the Pick'em game, you'll just get $75. So why pass on the free money? Code Mayo at Underdog right now. Okay, the other one actually happened on Saturday as well, but it happened right around the time of the Rory withdrawal, so no one really paid attention to it. It was Austin Smotherman who won us a bunch of cash last week with his third place or T2 finish at the Cognizant Classic. He too withdrew with a back injury, so no word yet on whether or not he's going to be good to go for the Players' Championship as well. He's of less concern than Rory, mind you, but he had been playing some very good golf. And again, if you're going to be targeting great approach players, Smotherman was like top 10 on tour so far this year in approach play. Hence why people bet him this week. People bet him last week because he had just been popping from a round-to-round type basis with that approach play. So keep an eye on him. I'll have updates throughout the course of the week once I know anything. If you want some boots on the ground, Matt Gannon is excellent for that. He's out there, as is Keith Stewart. Matt joined me on the player-by-player preview that is already out on the podcast feed. feed and on Mayo Media Network. So after you watch that, go back, check out the player by player. And Keith is obviously going to be joining me. He's at the Players Championship this week. He'll be joining me from Sawgrass on probably Tuesday at midnight is when that show is going to be released. So please tune into that. I had a great time chatting it up with Keith at TGL last week. I may have had a bit too much coffee before I started that show because I went straight from the plane to the TGL SoFi Center running late. Tried to get it all in, and I had let's say 5 double espressos between the plane and actually filming, and I was wired. And I'm wired to talk about the Players Championship too, because I've actually become quite fond of this event after years of really not enjoying it. It's still a made-for-TV production, like the rumors that they used to dye the water at Sawgrass a certain tinge so it would look different on TV. I don't know whether or not that was true or whether or not they do it anymore, but it does look pretty spectacular on TV. And it is easily the best tournament to watch every single year. One good thing, this being the flagship PGA Tour event, is when you watch those ESPN Plus feeds early on in the morning, you get 8 players, maybe a few more if someone's hot on the course that you get to see. Generally for the Players Championship, and I don't have confirmation that this is going to happen again, but I see no reason for them not to change it at this point. Every group is going to have its own isolated feed that you're going to be able to tune into. So any player, any bet, any head-to-head, any DraftKings pick, underdog play, whatever it might be, you will be able to watch that person in real time. Well, probably a 30-second delay, but close enough to real time that you can sweat whoever you want. I like to set it up in a quad box on my screen, and basically I turn it into red zone, aka the green zone, copyright Pat Mayo on that, to watch through the early morning coverage. And even when the coverage is going on the main network, the main feed, you can still get access to all of this. So that's what we'll be doing for the Cut Sweat Live. If I have time to do the Cut Sweat Live, maybe Cust and Jeff will step in and do it without me and have that content out there for everyone, because it's one of the more enjoyable things of the year as well. Weather is the other key factor. I'll hearken on it again, and when I release my column for this week, which will be sent directly to you if you sub to the free Mayo Media newsletter, that's down in the description, Mayo Media on Substack. If you hate clicking things in descriptions and you like typing things into a search bar, that's where you can find it. Mayo Media on Substack. It's a completely free newsletter. It's been hot, too. After the huge week at Cognizant, no matter what happens, we got tons of runners across all 3 tours, but Chandler Blanchet did cash the 70-1 first-round leader in Puerto Rico, so it's a winning week regardless, but we got a lot of irons in the fire here. Hopefully, one of them can come through. It'd be nice if 3 of them could come through. I don't have the highest hopes for that after watching most of the Saturday action in Puerto Rico when Blanchet went from a 5-shot lead to a 0-shot lead very, very quickly that day. Hopefully by the time that round ends, maybe he can be back on top, but we have other guys that are in the running over there as well. But all the leaderboards are condensing right now. I'm recording this during the weather delay in the 3rd round at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, where Daniel Berger still has a 5-stroke lead. But if somehow he falls back, there's a group of 16 guys just waiting to take this tournament, and we got a bunch of them. So hopefully one of those guys can end up coming through. Hell, they all just come inside the top 3. It's a pretty good payday as well. But that Blanchet first-round leader is where we're at. So if you have some extra funds and you want access to what I'm looking through on this research show, it's the rabbit hole at betspertsgolf.com. If you go to betspertsgolf.com right now and you enter the code Sawgrass, all caps, non-all caps, doesn't matter. Just spell it correctly. Sawgrass, you get the rabbit hole for $1 this week. And you're going to watch me walk through what the power of those tools can do, where it's going to lead us this week. It's been hot each of the past 2 weeks. Plus, it has the optimizer, the tournament simulations. It's all up there. You can get it for $1 this week. Code Sawgrass at at Betspertsgolf.com. The tool itself is called the Rabbit Hole. Plus, there's free content up there as well if you're just looking for articles on anything. You don't even need to use the dollar on that, but I suggest you do use the $1 fee because it's a great time to get in with lots of money available at the Players Championship. So the move to March, I think, is significant because every winner we've had at the Players Championship since the move to March has been a major champion. The only one who wasn't was Cameron Smith, and he just happened to win the Open Championship later on that season. So high-end winners is what we're seeing since it moved from May to March. I talked at nauseum for years about the correlation between the Wyndham Championship and Sawgrass, because 5 of those guys over the past 16 years have won the Players' Championship as well, but none of those guys have won since it moved to March. It's been the higher end guys. Southwind, and we'll dig into this later, is actually maybe the spot you want to look at, although last season 3 of the top 6 on the leaderboard at Sawgrass have been previous winners of the Valero Texas Open, of all places. Wind-affected courses, but it was just strange to see Akshay, Spawn, and Connors all just kind of pop up on that list inside the top 6. Just that one's probably of a lesser extent. The Southwind thing really does play a lot. JJ Spawn pulled the double last year. He lost in a playoff at both tournaments. That's fun times because I had money on him at Southwind, and I was at Southwind to watch that happen. That was no fun. But either way, there is something there. It's a lot of water off the tee. The driver strategy is very similar between both courses. So that does make a lot of sense. And it's a pure second shot course. Whereas something like Bay Hill is a pure off the tee course, and you do need to have good irons and good putting, but your driver needs to be locked at Bay Hill, and you can get away with middling irons. It's sort of the opposite at Sawgrass, where you can get away with middling driving, but you need to be dialed in with your irons. The only guy who didn't do that was Webb Simpson, because he just made everything that week. Chipping in, putts off the green, putts on the green, and he absolutely ran away with the tournament. So he played a bit more conservatively as the weekend came along because he was just winning by so much. But I think the biggest thing about, besides the results and the difficulty and the quality of winners that we've gotten at Sawgrass since this move to March, is I think it's a better spot on the schedule for the players. For years, they tried to brand it the 5th major, which was stupid because there's only 4 majors. We're not talking about the Puerto Rico Open being the 38th major. No, there's 4 majors. There can't be a 5th one because there's only 4. But they got away from that in recent years. All I saw, Brandel was trying to bring it back. It's a terrible marketing strategy. What it should be known as, and has been since, is the lead-in, the table setter to what we're going to see at major championships for the year. All the best guys are here, non-live division. The live guys are excluded from this. However, this is a fantastic field. It's a fun course to watch, and it is the flagship PGA Tour event. The major championships aren't just PGA Tour events. Everyone can play in those. But this one is PGA Tour only, a lot like the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth for the DP World Tour. It means a lot to these players. It means a lot to the tour. And then when you take the 4 majors and you take all the other tournaments of the year, signature events, whatever it might be, the players is firmly in between those. So it table sets the entire year. We get a fantastic tournament with immaculate production, usually on Pro CBS over NBC and golf coverage. They do an awesome job at this tournament, and I'm just ready to strap in, try to hit a winner, and maybe try to win $1 million on DraftKings, or hell, win a bunch of money on Underdog this week too. Code Mayo. Don't forget that, all right? Let's take a look at this course. TPC Sawgrass is a par 72, 7,352 yards. Scoring tends to be quite difficult here. It's a Pete Dye design, 18 water hazards. POA Travalis, much like the Amex and TPC Scottsdale earlier on in the year, the putting surfaces are right around 5,500 square feet, which is on the smaller side, much smaller than they've encountered any of the past 3 weeks on the PGA Tour, but larger than Pebble Beach, mind you. The rough is grown out long. The fairway widths are only 28 yards. Some of the changes made a year ago to Sawgrass. There's a new tournament tee on number 2 that added 15 yards. We saw this a year ago. They reestablished the iconic tree on number 6 while adding 15 yards. They lost the original tree in 2014, and we saw last year that it really messed with a lot of the guys' heads, that they had to hit something low underneath that tree off the tee box. There's a new tee complex on number 11 that added 15 yards, and there's stronger, deeper, more dramatic moguls with the addition of palm trees, oaks, and some of the native grasses just off the right rough on number 14. The par 3s, the average distance is 185 yards, 4 of the 5 highest par rates on the course. The 2 on the front have a sub 12% birdie rate. Rory bogeyed 3 of them just against 1 birdie for the week on the par 3s. The par 4s, there are 10 of them, 433 yards. 2 of the toughest holes are back 9 par 4s, 14 and 18, both carrying a double or worse rate higher than 4%. Rory birdied number 1 twice and hole number 18 each of the first 3 days. And the par 5s, this is where you got to make your bones this week. 565 yards, 4 of the 5 easiest holes on the course. 3 of them have an eagle rate of 2% or more. Rory played number 2 last year at 5 under par, and only the other 3 combined at 3 under par. But when you win at minus 12, When you get -8 on the par 5s, you just kind of need to be slightly above average the rest of the way. Although it's been more than a lustrum since the Players' Championship moved from May to March, it really doesn't hurt to reinforce the rules again. With water on play on basically every hole and 92 bunkers scattered across the course, there's a higher variance at TPC Sawgrass than almost any course. Old school PGA National, maybe the Open Championship, Southwind from time to time are really the only rivals. The 3M Open as well. It's all because of the water factor. As we saw with Shane Lowry 2 weeks ago, water can really dramatically affect a tournament towards the end. And that's not even factoring in the gusts of wind that could be just coming in there outside of anywhere at any time. They just pop up and they can wreak havoc on the entire course. A lot of courses that are so long that a lack of distance off the tee ups the difficulty for shorter smackers. That is not the case at TPC Sawgrass because yes, driving distance is always going to be advantageous on the par 5s and longer par 4s if you're not in the deep rough, straw, grass, or water. If you're accurate, it's a great thing to have. But even then, we witnessed the game's most prolific bomber, Bryson DeChambeau, nickel and dime his way off the tee in 2021, taking a course management approach with irons off the tee to ensure that the ball was safe, and it almost worked. He just fell short to Justin Thomas on the weekend. Since distance play is less of a factor at Sawgrass than most PGA Tour courses, the entire field technically has the entire opportunity to contend this week. And strangely, after years of these leaderboards screaming like Florida man for its insanity, and it was a hometown kind of thing, they've somewhat normalized since the move to March. Each of the winners has been a major winner. As I mentioned, Cam Smith was the only one, but he would drink from the claret jug later that year. Stacked fields like this and major championships require you, on a DraftKings perspective, to embrace game theory over your instincts, because there's just such little difference between the players in each range. I can come on here and I can debate with you about whether Sam Burns is a significantly better play than Shane Lowry. And we can go back and forth and have the best reasons in the world for all of that. But it's probably just as smart to admit that they probably have exactly the same amount of chance to win this week or do just as well. Their bell curves probably look almost identical. So taking the guy at lower ownership is usually the better way to go if you really want to advance in some of these large field GPP contests. The tiny greens at Sawgrass are a regular occurrence at Pete Dye designed courses. It's why strokes gained around the green has been just as important as strokes gained off the tee at Sawgrass for the top 10 finishers over the past 7 years. For reference, strokes gained approach has been almost 3 times as important to the top 10 finishers. And we'll dig in why that's the case and the best Pete Dye players a little bit later on as we dig into the rabbit hole and really try to get that. So if we're talking correlation courses, beyond Pete Dye courses, I mentioned earlier the success of the Wyndham Championship. Stenson, Webb Simpson, Sergio, Davis Love, Kim, all won at Sedgefield CC in the past decade, and they had also claimed a Players' Championship at some point in their careers, but none since it moved from May to March. Events like the Wyndham, the Sony Open, and the Heritage used to be really good prime spots to identify sleepers from the bottom of the list, as they generally don't see an influx of top-tier talent in those terms. The Heritage does now, but the Sony and Wyndham still don't, so I think those are still good to look at if you're trying to find long shot guys, top 10, lower-end guys for DraftKings plays, but there's a few other ones that probably help out a little bit more, especially for identifying sleepers. I don't know how much correlation this has, but last year on the leaderboard, 3 winners of the Valero Texas Open found their way inside the top 6. Spawn was second, Akshay was third, Corey Connors was Swixt? They're all Swix. If you're searching for higher end events, which correlates more to this move to March, it's Southwind, because there's a ton of water lurking around that place. It has all of the best players in the field. Justin Thomas has won both of the events. Hideki won in 2024 at Southwind with Xander and Scheffler also inside the top 4 that season. Earlier on that year at the Players' Championship, Scheffler won with Hideki and Xander inside the top 6. Last year, as mentioned, JJ Spawn lost in the playoff of the Players to Rory. Then he lost to another of the United Kingdom's finest, Justin Rose, in a playoff at TPC Southwind. Glover won at Southwind in 2023, and Rory and Connors were both inside the top 6 that year. All 3 of them were inside the top 6 last year at the Players' Championship. So mining some info though, from guys that have had some prolonged success or even spike performances at TPC South winning the first leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs is going to be a spot to go to. Phoenix is somewhat of a similar spot as well. A lot of shaved areas off around the greens and more or less the same type of putting surfaces. The Poa Travalis, the players have mentioned, have been very similar to Reed. They just happen to play a lot faster at Sawgrass, and we've seen a lot of the same players do well at both those courses over time. But as with most courses, as I talked about, strokes gained approach is going to be the deciding factor that week. Generate that many birdie opportunities, and eventually, hopefully at least, if it's my guy that I bet on, that they actually start making some of those. And great approach play generally means you're spending less time chipping or taking the nesty plunge and playing it from the water. That's never any good, especially on your second shot. You can get away with a T-ball or two in the water. Hopefully not. Hopefully you got a clean card. Eventually it gets to someone. But just looking back, going back to Matt Kuchar in 2012, Kuchar won. He was 5th in the field in approach. Tiger the next year, 2nd in approach. Keimer, 4th. Fowler, 3rd. Day, 9th. See, was 16th the year that he won. I spoke about the outlier that was Webb Simpson. He was 92nd in the field. He actually lost strokes on approach the year that he won. But since the move to March, Rory 6th, JT 5th, Cam Smith 5th, Scheffler 4th, Scheffler 7th, Rory 5th. We need to identify these high-end, great iron players and just pray that they end up having one of the weeks that we need them to have in order to contend. Spoke briefly about the weather, and if you have any familiarity with this tournament, you know not to invest too much money or finalize all your picks before getting the tee times and consulting the weather. I've been correct in predicting when the wind is going to hit recently, but unfortunately my implementation of said information has been very poor. I nailed the weather in 2022. Unfortunately, they delayed the action and they pushed all my guys into the bad wave. I think I had Brooks and someone else that year, and they were just having a laugh, just hitting balls in the water on 17 because it was just wildly unfair. Anyone who came out of that wave. That was the year that Cam Smith ended up coming in first. I think Lahiri ended up coming in second. It was just wild stuff that if you got your guys in there, it was like having the WDs on DraftKings this week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Sometimes you just have to sit back and laugh, and that's just the way that it's going to be. Fortunately, despite still being days away right now, the weather does look pretty friendly for Sawgrass. I'm using the Palm Valley ICWW Wind Tower on windfinder.com if you do want to go find that. And that link will be provided in the free newsletter, which will be sent out following the conclusion of the Arnold Palmer Invitational. When we return, we're going to jump into the rabbit hole, look more at the course, and dig in and try to find the winner of the Players' Championship. Stay tuned. It's winter and it's cold. At least where I'm at. And I'm spending way more time indoors, aka I'm sleeping more. If you're like me, it's time to upgrade your sleep and switch to Helix. You'll never go back. I took the Helix sleep quiz. It matched me to the right mattress for how I actually sleep, not how some showroom goober thinks I sleep. And since it's been all restful nights, no tossing, no back pain, and my sleep tracking actually backs that up. My deep sleep numbers off the charts, good, way better than before. We've got more than just one Helix in our house now, too. Just threw one in the upcoming baby's room so I can get back to sleep quickly the moment that the baby goes down. Helix builds mattresses for different people, not a one-size-fits-all nonsense, because that wouldn't make any sense. There's free shipping in the United States and a 120-night sleep trial with a limited lifetime warranty. Go to helixsleep.com/Mayo for 27% off, site-wide exclusive for listeners of the Pat Mayo Experience. That's helixsleep.com/Mayo. Do it now! A well-built wardrobe isn't about having more clothes, it's about having the right pieces that actually work together and hold up over time. That's what Quince does best. Quince has the everyday essentials that I love with quality that lasts. Organic cotton sweaters, polos for any occasion, lightweight jackets that keep you warm as the seasons start to shift, all designed to be easy to wear and easy to rely on. They work directly with top factories and cut out the middleman, so you're not paying for brand markup, just quality clothing that's built to handle daily wear and still look good season after season. The wool coat I picked up from Quince is holding up way better than the other coats that I've bought for way more. Looks good, keeps me warm, didn't break the bank. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/mayo for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. It's now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/mayo. I'm currently 4 months off cigs, and cravings aren't just about nicotine. They're about habit. The hand-to-mouth motion, that quick pause during the day and when you're trying to quit, it's breaking that loop that's the hardest part. That's why people replace smoking with eating, something of which I am very guilty of. That's where Fume comes in. Not only is Fume spelled with an umlaut, which is awesome, Fume is a flavored air device designed to help you ditch vaping or smoking by replacing the habit itself. No nicotine, no batteries, no vapor, just a weighted, twisty, fidget-friendly device that gives your hands and mouth something to do when the cravings hit. I've had these moments where I just normally reach for a cig. Instead, I just grab my Fume to fidget with. That interruption is exactly why it works. The flavors are lighter too. Think like flavored water versus soda. Crisp mint, strongest if you're a heavy user. Raspberry, got some more of that tangy sweetness. It's quite nice. Fume has already helped over 700,000 people take steps towards better habits. And now, it's your turn. Use my code MAYO to get a free gift with your Journey Pack. Head to tryfume.com. That's tryfum.com and use code MAYO to claim your free gift today. Very quickly, if you didn't know, on the Fanball app or at fanball.com, there's going to be a Pat Mayo 5x5 contest this week. You get a salary cap of $15. You got 5 guys at $5, 5 guys at $4, all the way down to $1. Construct a team of 5. It's going to be very low rake, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You can play your one and done for the Race for the Mayo Cup on the Fanball app as well. The contest should open either late on Monday or early on Tuesday, so keep that in mind. Head over to the Fanball app and get that right now. But we're going to the rabbit hole. Betspertsgolf.com. Again, code Sawgrass. Get you the entire week for $1. Highly recommend that you do it. It has all of the information, plus more to come as we get closer to time. You got the ownership projections. You got, all the tools, the optimizer, the live leaderboard, which is going on right now, the simulations. If you're a head-to-head bettor or a 3-ball bettor, or you just like betting those groups of 5, you can dump them all in with odds to the custom matchup simulator, and it'll give you what the proper odds should be. But all the information is here for you if you want to check it out, including the correlated courses, the entire leaderboard. And as we look through, and this really stuck out to me right off the hop, we're thinking about off the tee play. Driver usage the last 2 years is way up at Sawgrass. Last year, it was 68%. The year before, it was 68%. The 3 years previous, 59, 47, and 61%. We're still not seeing like a ton of drives over 320 yards, but it's trending upwards. Guys are feeling more comfortable, especially if the wind is down, going full smoke wagon off the tee. So keep that in mind when we're thinking about the bigger drivers, even from a year ago. We take a look at the strokes gain totals from a year ago. We can take a look at the average or just the totals, and you'll see how the guys got it done. A lot of big drivers ended up, not big driving distance guys, but strokes gained off the tee mavens. You have Rory, who's obviously one of the best players on earth off the tee. We'll see if that, maybe it's chasing all that speed. He got his driver up to, I believe, over 188 miles per hour, which is wild. That's up from what he's normally. Take a look at Rory right now. We'll see if he's okay going forward with this back problem, but you can see it right here. The ball speed up to 186, so he's gained on average through 8 rounds so far this season. He has gained over 2 miles per hour on his ball speed. At API, he was up around 188. He was cutting off, not quite Bryson levels of the water on some of these holes, but he was really, really going for it. The distance was down, but that's partially due to him having played Pebble Beach as one of his 8 rounds, so that's being directly impacted. If he can keep up this accuracy and the ball speed, like, he's a real threat. I really liked Rory coming into the week, so now I need to recalibrate of what I'm thinking. He was last year's winner, around the green play wasn't great. 7.7 strokes on approach, and let's just take a look here of how the guys did. On approach, Rory was 5th, Spawn was 8th, Hoagie was 2nd, Akshay was 9th. So everyone inside the top 4 was inside the top 10 in strokes gained approach. If Spawn had actually just made some putts, he would have been fine. He was first tee to green, inside the top 15 in all the tee to green metrics, but 50th in putting is going to do that. He had an okay putting week. It wasn't horrible by any means, but it just wasn't good enough to actually get himself through. If we take a look at the overall strokes gained leaders in approach, Tom Kim led all players. He almost missed the cut because he drove it and putted so poorly. You see Hoagie came third despite a lackluster, I mean, it's not new for him being lackluster off the tee, or he was bad around the green, but his approach play was so good that he was able to vault him up that list, not killing him elsewhere. Lowry, Morikawa, Rory, Bobby Mack, who came in 9th, was 6th. Pavon was 7th. Then you got Spawn and Akshay, then Max McGreevy. Guys like Fleetwood, who came in 14th, was 12th in that number. Zalatoris, Jagger. And then a bunch of guys who just couldn't putt or drive the ball. They lost it elsewhere. I had money on Seb Straka last year. I'm probably going to have money on him again because he's becoming a money pit for me. I got money on him this week at the API. What happened to Scheffler last year? He putted, right around average. He was below average around the green. Top 20 off the tee and in approach, though. We've been digging into Scheffler's numbers a little bit so far this year and what's really going on with him. But I had a good illustration up here of what the difference between him a year ago and what he is doing right now. And it's even going through of what we're seeing at our API, even though the API numbers aren't in the system as of yet. We can go to the live leaderboard and take a look if we really want to. But let's go to the calendar year. Jan 1st to Jan 1st. I thought this was striking when we think about it. We'll go to the average per round on anything. Last year, Scheffler averaged 1.32 strokes on approach per round. That is an ungodly number. As you can see, number 2 in that category was Victor Hovland. Christoph Reiten was 3rd. That was only in 8 rounds. Let's just take Hovland. He was number 2, played 65 rounds. It's a huge sample as opposed to the 80 rounds from Scottie Scheffler. He was number 2, gaining 0.85 strokes on approach per round. So basically a half stroke per round separated Scheffler from the second best player. That is the difference between Victor Hovland and hell, if we go down here, like Mac Meisner and Nick Taylor on a per round basis. That's how much better Scheffler was than every other player on tour. Better than the second player, but that's how much better he was than all of the players on tour last year, a half stroke per round. Just digging into this year, we'll go past 3 months because that encapsulates every tournament that we've seen so far this season. And we go to the average per round and we take a look at Scottie Scheffler, a quarter stroke per round. He's over a stroke worse per round on average this year on approach play than he was last year. That's a separator. His driving is great. His around the green is awesome. His putting's better than ever. But this separator is the concerning part. So even if we take a look at how he's doing at Bay Hill right now, go over to the live leaderboard. Check out what's going on. See Scottie Scheffler. Where's he at? Oh, he's at 0.16 strokes gained on approach per round. That ain't good. That's not going to cut it. It's always terrifying when we talk about this thing with Scottie where we feel like he's just going to snap back into it and become that Scottie Scheffler from the past 2 years, but we are just not seeing that at the moment. And before, when he would have struggle tournaments, it's easy to figure out why he was struggling. If we just go over to Scottie Scheffler, was it the approach play? Not really. Where are the tournaments where he was bad? He lost strokes at the Open Championship, but even if we go back up and just look at this from a total view right now. So he lost strokes around the green, at the Open Championship. Didn't really make that much of a difference, honestly. We see when he didn't win at the Scottish Open. Well, he gained almost 6 strokes on approach, almost 3 off the tee. He was almost 2 around the greens. He lost 1.5 strokes putting. That's why he didn't win that week. He lost strokes putting at Memorial. Didn't matter. His tee to green, and especially his ball striking, was so strong, didn't make a difference. Same as at the Charles Schwab. He came in 4th. He lost around the greens. He lost in putting. He gained over 10 strokes ball striking. It's a ridiculous number. At the Heritage, almost the same thing. He gained 8 strokes ball striking, somehow lost almost 3 around the greens. Very atypical of Scottie, but it was never the driver and irons combination. Like the worst tournament he had ball striking last year was basically the Masters. I think that and Houston, where he still came in 2nd. That week he gained a ton on putting. The putting saved him. And what he did in Houston last year, and this goes on to he came 4th the next week at the Masters, but even this little mini run that he had earlier on in the year, and we saw this happen a little bit earlier on last year as well. So we can feel like it's going to come back around. It's just when. How long do you continue to fade Scottie Scheffler in these regards that his approach play just hasn't been up to snuff? Now, this year, he's chipping it and putting it better than he was at the same time last year. The driver has actually been better than at this point last year. But these scoring clubs, generating the birdie opportunities that he needs, just aren't coming to fruition the same way that we saw over the past 2 years, where it's just 12 strokes gained on approach. He's just not hitting hitting those levels right now. Like the best that he's done is in Phoenix. And after the first round, even he lost in the first round, had a really good second round, very middling third round with his irons, and a good fourth round with his irons. Then that coincided with a great driving round, a great chipping round, and a great putting round. That it's been hard for him to get all four facets of his game on the same level right now. He's opening at 3-1, and with Rory's injury, he might drift up a little bit. Honestly, I don't see why he wouldn't. He's won this tournament twice, 2 of the past 3 years, but he comes in with only a single win on similar putting surfaces, albeit slower at the American Express, but that is a Pete Dye design earlier on this season. It's not to say that he shouldn't be the favorite. He should be the favorite in this tournament, even with this sort of play. Like, it's not like his approach is bad. It's just kind of regular versus everyone else right now. I would just be concerned that I'd be laying a huge chunk of money on a guy right now with an implied probability of 25% when I just don't think that's what his win rate is at the moment based on these. It sucks to make these sort of statements and then Scheffler goes out and plays like the Scotty Scheffler that we envision in our minds and you feel like a dummy, but you've been making money fading Scotty Scheffler every tournament besides one so far this year. So keep that in mind, especially in the DraftKings system where, again, we'll see what happens with Rory. Let's say Rory doesn't even play. That makes Scheffler almost $4,000 more expensive than the next closest guy, who is Tommy Fleetwood, which I find very, very, very intriguing. I want to harp down more on these strokes gained approach numbers, though. We'll take an average, and we'll take a look at who the best players have been so far this season. We'll say a minimum of 8 rounds so we don't get weird outliers in there, although 8 rounds is such a small sample. It could be an outlier type thing if you want to talk about it, but it puts Rory at the top, 1.46 on approach so far this season. After that, I mentioned Smotherman withdrew. He was 3rd in approach per round so far this year. So you got Siwoo at number 2, Fitzpatrick at number 3, although he's come back down to earth, although he did find his putter at API, which I suppose is nice. If he can somehow mix all that stuff, he's had some good runs at the Players in the past. Morikawa, I have a feeling Morikawa is going to end up being the highest owned. I think he's going to be the most bet on player this week, even if he ends up struggling coming home at API. Just everything he's doing right now coincides really well with the Players. This was always pegged as the Colin Morikawa Championship to win. Distance doesn't matter, but accuracy does. That's where he's fantastic. Iron play above all. That's fantastic. Ball striking. And you just pray that he can make some putts. Even so far this season, he's neutral around the greens. That's good enough for me. Ryan Gerard is really interesting because he was on that crazy run, hit a stumbling block at the Cognizant Classic, although the ball striking was still really good at the Cognizant Classic. Not quite up to the par that he was recently, as we can see. He still gained, this is on average, he gained over 4 strokes on approach. He gained almost 3 off the tee. The ball striking was great. Couldn't chip, couldn't putt. That's a problem. And that's something that we've seen. The chipping has been an issue, and now the putting has become an issue. Then he ended up missing the cut at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I don't really love him at long courses. Shorter courses like this, where he can use his accuracy, these hot irons, it wouldn't be crazy to think about. He was very much in the mix of the Valero Texas Open a year ago as well. And as we kind of scroll through, I mentioned Sony earlier. He was T2 at a Pete Dye design where Scheffler won. He was T2 to Scheffler earlier on this year. Didn't play the St. Jude all that well, although his approach play was pretty good. What else do we want? How has he done at the Players' Championship over the years? He was T42 here a year ago, mainly because he lost 5 strokes around the green. It's actually somewhat encouraging that he gained strokes on the green. A very good putting week in his debut a year ago. I don't hate Gerard this week, although I don't think that he's going to be a priority for me at the same time. Because again, when I rattled through those winners, who has won at the Players' Championship, they are major champions. I do want to take a look at the lead-in form of all of the winners that we've seen at this tournament over the years. And we can take a look at the recent form that goes along with that as well. Obviously, Rory won, beating Spawn in a playoff last year at -12. Rory won the Pebble Beach signature event in February and had no finish worse than T17 in any of his worldwide starts, and 4 of them to begin the year. His previous players, he was T19 the year before, and he was cut the year before that. Scheffler became the first ever back-to-back winner of the Players' Championship, and he had won the week previous at Bay Hill and had top 10 finishes in 5 of his 6 starts to begin the year. His previous Players' form was a win and a T55 the year before. So Scheffler obviously won the year before that. He had a win and a top 12 finish in all of his 5 starts previous to the year, so he was playing great, had a win already. He was 55th at the Players' Championship the year before. He beat Tyrrell Hatton by 5 coming down the stretch, and he missed the cut the year before that. Cam Smith bit interesting here. He wins at -13 over Lahiri. Casey, if you remember, that was the year that Casey on the 16th hole got his ball stuck in a divot and couldn't go for the green in 2. It's a pretty devastating outcome for Paul Casey because he was very much in the mix that week, unlike anything he's done since he left to go to live. But either way, Cam Smith ended up winning. He won the opening event of the year at Kapalua and added another top 5 finish at the Saudi International prior to the win. He had played 4 times in the year previous to his victory at the Players' Championship. He was 17th the year before at Sawgrass and 56th the year before that. Justin Thomas wins at -14 over Lee Westwood, Brian Harmon, and Bryson and Paul Casey. There's Taylor Gooch. Good for him. Corey Connors loves being inside the top 10, by the way. Every time I've scrolled through these, you see the Canada flag, and it's Corey Connors. JT posted 3 top 15 finishes in 5 2021 starts. He was 3rd at the Tournament of Champions. That was his best result that year, previous to his win at the Players. He was 35th at Sawgrass the year before, 11th the year before that. Rory won in 2019 because, as you may recall, that the 2020 Players' Championship was the tournament that didn't finish its first round with Hideki in the lead, and then golf and the world was canceled because of COVID for a while. But the year before that, 2019, we're still talking about March, Rory wins by a stroke over Jim Furyk and 2 over Eddie Pepperell and Johnny Vegas. My, how times have changed since 2019. Rory was top 6 in 5 straight events prior to his win. He was miscut at the Players the year before and 35th the year before that. So the one thing you've really noticed from those previous results at the Players is that they don't really mean anything. Course history at the Players, it's volatile. And you don't really go in. Yeah, it's nice to see that guys have played well there in the past, but recent form kind of trumps everything else at this tournament. So let's try to find who the best players have been so far this season coming in. Like Justin Rose. Justin Rose is a very interesting one because he has the win already. He's been kind of bad outside of that, but I mentioned the Southwind connection. He won at Southwind a year ago. So even though his form isn't great coming in, I wouldn't just overlook Justin Rose because, he's been bad since he won at Pebble Beach, at Pebble. He won at the Farmers. He was T37 at Pebble Beach. He got cut at the Genesis in a very small cut event. I believe he was cut at the Arnold Palmer Invitational this weekend too. Scotty has been playing the best in terms of average results, as you can see, although he's having a bit of a struggle at API right now. He has a win, a 3rd, a 4th, and a 12th, so progressively worse in every single start, and Bay Hill's going to be worse than that. Rory had a T14 and a T2. Let's try to find some other guys. Knapp actually does fit the bill a lot here. He has finished no worse than T11 in any start so far this season. That's pretty good, honestly. Nikolai Højgaard, Knapp is a WD, so he's going to retain those really good results, but although he's not a major champion and probably never will be, Jake Knapp, maybe he can get, listen, I didn't think JJ Spawn would ever become a major champion either, but here we are. So, Knapp could be one of those guys. Nikolai, if he won a major, I wouldn't be super stunned. He made the cut at Bay Hill. He's not having that great of a week. I think he's like T45 or something through 3 rounds, but T6, T3, T22 with his lead in form. Tommy, he's not playing that well at Bay Hill either, did make the cut, but was top 10 in each of his first 2 starts. He was outside the top 20 in both of his Dubai starts on the DP World Tour earlier on this season. Shane Lowry should have won in Dubai earlier on this year. He had a T8 at Pebble Beach, T24 at Genesis, obviously the tie for second at the Cognizant Classic, playing okay at no, he didn't play okay. He had a putt to make the cut at Bay Hill and ended up missing it. So he's fresh coming into the week if you want to spin it that way. But here's some other guys. These are the guys that I'm really kind of intrigued about. Siwoo has to be number 1. And realistically, what's happened to him is all putting. If he had just made some putts, he'd probably have 2 wins so far this season. But as you can see, the putter has hampered him, as it has in the past. But these strokes gained approach numbers are nothing to scoff at. Even the off-the-tee numbers are really good for Siwoo Kim. He's going to be as accurate as the next guy. He's just not as long. But these approach numbers, 3.2, 1.5, 4.7, 7.9, 3.5, and that's only in 2 weighted rounds at the American Express. Then you have the Sony 6.4. So every tournament this year, he's been well above the field in strokes gained approach. The ball striking numbers, very good. Obviously, one of the better around the green players on tour, but minus 4.5, minus 3, minus 1.6 on the greens, lost almost 5 at the Sony. It just hasn't happened for him with the flat stick. And it's hard to say that you expect it to turn around because almost the exact same thing is happening to him at at Bay Hill right now. Just go over and take a look at what he's up to. Oh yeah, he's gaining a bunch off the tee. He's gaining a bunch on approach. This is average per round. He's in 17th place right now because dude can't make a putt. It's a problem. Michael Kim's numbers are really good too. I was actually just texting with him. I was telling him, I'm like, keep striking it this way. And you got a shot next week if you could actually drain some putts. And he said it's the best he's felt about his swing in a really long time. So that's all I really need to know about Michael Kim to jump in on that bandwagon at like 200 to 1 and very cheap on DraftKings. Like, this is the sort of stuff that I want to see. The putter, I mean, Michael Kim's usually a really good putter. It's this part of the game, the ball striking, that I want to see trend back upwards. And that's what we're seeing at Bay Hill right now. Hell, we can just take a look at who is doing well. Obviously, we don't have the full complement of stats right now because the tournament isn't over. It's in a delay, but they'll be updated to the rabbit hole once the tournament has concluded. Again, code Sawgrass at Betspertsgolf.com right now. Get you the rabbit hole for $1 this week. Ball striking wise, who has been the best? It's been Berger. No shocker there, because his driving and his approach have been off the charts good. So was his chipping and putting. I know where this chipping came from with Mr. Yips, Daniel Berger. Here's an interesting one. Taylor Pendrith is second in ball striking. He's lost over 10 strokes putting so far this week. Pendrith has showed up at the Players' Championship before. I actually like him at shorter courses versus longer courses. I know he got his win at the CJ Cup, but overall, the shorter courses have tended to play more to his strength over time. I think he has a top 10 at the Players in the past. Let's take a look at maybe another Canadian flag up there. It's going to be Taylor Pendrith. Who knows? Players' Championship, T13, T69 cut, T38. So he has that T13 in his debut. It hasn't really been all that good for him each of the past two starts. The approach play has been really bad. The driver's consistently going to be good, although it's been less good recently than it has been in the past. He missed the cut at the Farmers and American Express despite really good ball striking. He was T6 at a short course at the Sony Open to kick off the year. So someone, again, if we're thinking about guys from the bottom of the board, don't hate Taylor Pendrith here, especially coming off a really good ball striking week. Gotterup, Straka, Cam Young. Cam Young was a Wyndham Championship winner last year, played really well at Southwind in the past too. Corey Connors. Okay, so Corey Connors' big problem this year has been that his ball striking has absolutely left him, and no one can really figure out why. It was great at the Sony Open, and we saw that. Here we are, Sony Open. Look at that, 2.6 strokes gained per round ball striking, and it's been abysmal. He's been abysmal on approach play ever since. Now, he has always played Bay Hill pretty well in his career. If we take a look at his Arnold Palmer Invitational numbers, 3rd, 18th, 26th, 11th, 3rd, it's pretty good for Corey Connors, especially in some of these elevated events. And we go to the Players' Championship, 6th, 13th, 7th, 26th, a cut. So overall, pretty good. But here's the thing that I really like. He's actually gained strokes putting on some of these greens over times. And now we're seeing he's 6th in the field in ball striking per round. The putter is going to come and go with Corey Connors. The Valero Texas Open winner, that's always nice to see. In the past was T6 a year ago, and now the off the tee and the approach numbers are starting to look really good again for him. Maybe it's a 1 week blip and he reverts back, but we've seen him do this at TPC Sawgrass in the past. He's kind of out of sight, out of mind, especially if he finishes T29 this week. And we'll know, listen, the people who dig into the numbers like we're doing right now, and you, if you have a membership at Betspertsgolf.com, code Sawgrass, $1, then you can have it, then you'll be noticing these things too. It's just like the Michael Kim numbers. These approach numbers are really good. These driving numbers are awesome. The putting numbers, horrible. Keith Mitchell, kind of the same way as well. He can't chip or putt this week. How has Keith Mitchell been at the Players' Championship? He's never really, I'll probably bet him first round leader because I love betting Keith Mitchell first round leader, but I have no idea how he's done at the Players' Championship in his career. Not very well. He had the spike in that super weather year. He was T13, but overall has never really been good, but the numbers coming in kind of suggest that he could be pretty good here. Let's take a look at what he's been up to so far this year. He was T6 at the Cognizant, drove it when he's won the Cognizant before, so that's not stunning. T11 at the Farmers. His approach play at Pebble Beach was really good. The driving wasn't. The approach play abandoned him in Phoenix, but the driving was really good. He hasn't missed a cut so far this year. Don't like him as much as some of the other names that we've mentioned so far, kind of digging into this a little bit. Ludwig's just been very good across the board. Morikawa's driving's been bad-ish, below field field average. He is in second place in this tournament. The approach numbers are really good. So are Ricky's, who's in seventh place in this tournament right now, and they're both putting pretty well. Not great, but not horrible either. Xander is just positive across the board. That's why he's currently in seventh place. Joel Damon missed the cut, but that's 2 weeks in a row his approach numbers have been off the charts good. Couldn't chip, couldn't putt. I believe Damon is going to be in the Players' Championship. I'm not 100% on that, but if he was in this field, it feels like he should be in. I suppose I can just check the list to see if he is in. Let's see, old Joel Damon. Joel Damon is listed in the field right now at the Players' Championship, $6,100 on DraftKings. I mean, that's a pretty good number. That's basically what he was at API, despite missing the cut. We saw that he had good ball striking numbers last week. He was all in the very, very dark green here on approach and off the tee. He missed the cut in Phoenix of bad approach way, but his driving numbers were really, really good. He was top 10 at the Farmers Insurance Open, gained both off the tee and on approach at a course where you wouldn't expect that. Damon's going to be better at shorter courses, which this is going to be. Let's see how he's done at the Players over the years. Let's see. He's made the cut each of the past 4 years. He was T11 2 years ago, T12 in his debut in 2019, so he's only ever played it in March. I wouldn't be thrown off just because he missed the cut in a very limited field event, but this course does not suit Joel Damon's strong suit, and he was still able to drive it well and hit his approaches really, really well. Minwoo is the other one. So Minwoo is a very interesting situation here because he has never really been hitting his irons this well ever in his career, and he is someone who's contended at the Players' Championship in the past. Weirdly enough, his off-the-tee game has been bad this week. That's usually the strength of his game. We know he's one of the better around-the-green players on tour. He's a spray-it-and-pray-it kind of driver that doesn't necessarily work out great at Bay Hill, although he is in 12th place as we're speaking right now, but there's a lot of danger off the tee. He doesn't need to go full bore, and we've seen that at the Players. That, I remember when he was in the final group with Scotty 3 years ago. In that first tee, he should have taken out driver. He didn't, ended up hitting it into the sand, and that was kind of the end of his day going into the final round, his first big appearance in a high-end event. But you can see the approach play was bad at the Genesis. It's back to being good this week. It was good at the AT&T Pebble Beach. It was good at the American Express. He's made all the cuts so far this season. He's trending towards another top 10 already, and he has two of the best putting performances at Sawgrass that we've seen in the past 3 years. He came T6 in 2023, gained 7.7 strokes putting, lost 7 strokes on approach. Last year, he actually gained a bit on approach and gained 6.2 on route to a T20. Drove it really poorly that week, but honestly, you don't see a lot of really bad driving performances from him. He was bad at the water-infested St. Jude. He was just bad that week. I ran in to Minwoo in the parking lot. He had to play the final round by himself, and I showed up to the course a bit late because I was doing work on that Sunday at the hotel. I got there, and Minwoo was just walking out of the players' tent. I talked to him. I was like, how'd you do? He's like, mate, I finished as fast as I could. Playing by, I think he finished the round in like 1 hour and 50 minutes. He was just getting the fuck out of Dodge that week, so can't really kill him for that, but it's one of the worst driving weeks of his career. The Travelers was another one where he just had a bad week. He was pretty bad following his win, honestly, last year. It's like he won, and that was kind of the end of it. It's funny that he lost strokes off the tee. This is one of the problems with the strokes gained off the tee metric in my mind. It is the best metric that we have in trying to determine who's good, who's bad in a lot of these things. But at Houston, you can drive the ball wherever you want and be fine. And that was sort of the key to that event. He hit it all over the property. It didn't make a difference until he hit it into the water, I think on 16 or 15. He almost hit that little guy in the boat that was over there. But you need to know where to miss. He knew where to miss and just hit it as far as he could. He was hitting wedges into every single green from the rough, but the rough wasn't all that penal, so it didn't make that big of a difference. So you saw a bit of a spike in his approach numbers. Based on the context of that tournament, I bet you his driving was better, his approaches weren't as good as maybe it is made out to be seen. Because you'll see this with a lot of guys, that sometimes bad approach numbers could lead to really good putting numbers because you're farther away from the pin, or bad driving numbers can lead to an overinflation of strokes gained approach because you're now hitting your approaches from the non-ideal spot. So guys that hit if a guy drives it long and straight, someone like Chris Gotterup, for example, and he just has 100 yards in, well, he might actually get penalized a lot of the time on his strokes gained approach, even if he hits it to 15 feet or 20 feet, because he was hitting a short iron in or a wedge in because the drive was so good. It gets made up overall in the tee to green and the strokes gained total, but for the individual stats, that's kind of the tweaking that needs to be done. I wish we could find something that was more accurate, but this is the best that we got going right now that you can put your mind into. But as you can see, like, the approach play gets bad for Minwoo, and the driving in this little stretch wasn't good either. But overall, just throughout his history, he's been very good off the tee, and he can spike with his approach play over time, and that's what he's doing right now. So you see 1.2, 4.6. He's having another good week at Bay Hill with those approaches that if he can keep that going and mix that with his putting that we've seen at Sawgrass over the years, that someone like Minwoo is someone that we should be looking at. When we return, we're going to build out a model, dig through more of the key stats, and try to find the best values and plays on the board at the Players' Championship. Look, I'll be straight with you. We talk all the time about getting better at work, sports, in life, whatever it might be. But most guys ignore the one thing that actually drives all of it: your head. Therapy isn't a weakness, it's a tool. I've seen it help guys deal with work stress, family stuff, breakups, addictions, whatever it might be. Just getting unstuck when everything feels heavy. The problem? It's usually a pain to get started. Long wait list, huge cost, total hassle, you know the deal. That's why Rula is different. Rula makes therapy simple, affordable, and fast. They work with most major insurance plans, and sessions can cost as little as $15. You answer a few quick questions, they match you with a licensed vetted therapist that actually fits what you need, and you can be talking to someone as soon as the next day. No weeks of waiting, no guessing if you pick the right person. If you've been putting this off, stop! Go to Rula.com/Mayo and get started today. That's RULA.com/Mayo. Once again, that's Rula.com/Mayo. Take the first step. Take control of your mental health. So there is about to be a new development in the Mayo household. As many of you know, a new baby is arriving soon. In fact, it may already be here by the time that you're listening to it. That's how close we are. Which meant suddenly I was looking around my house and realizing that I am wildly unprepared for an extra human being to be living here. And honestly, Wayfair has been a lifesaver. When you're getting ready for a baby, you realize that you need everything: new bedding, storage, furniture, things to organize the nursery, things to organize literally every other room in the house because it's about to get taken over by baby stuff. The other kids, they hate this. Wayfair makes it ridiculously easy because it's basically a one-stop shop. We grabbed new storage solutions, some nursery pieces, and even some refreshed parts of the living room so it doesn't look like a tornado of baby gear just exploded everywhere. And the best part is you can find stuff that actually looks good without spending a fortune. If you're getting your home ready for a new season or a new baby, Wayfair has everything you need. Get organized, refreshed, and back on track for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. If you're like me, you love coffee, but sometimes coffee doesn't love you back. One too many cups and suddenly you're jittery, your brain's moving at 1,000,000 miles a minute, and you're wondering why you drank it in the first place. That's why I started trying Mudwater's new low-calf coffee blend. It actually tastes like real coffee, made with organic Arabica beans, but it's only got 45 milligrams of caffeine, plus things like L-theanine and functional mushrooms like lion's mane and cordyceps. So you still get that focus and energy without all the jitters or the crash late in the day. They also have an original blend, which is more of a coffee alternative with cacao, chai, turmeric, and mushrooms if you want something even lighter. Everything is organic, non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, no sugar added, and honestly, it's just a smoother way to start the day without feeling wired. If you want to try it out, head to mudwater.com and grab a starter kit. Right now, listeners get up to 43% off your order, free shipping, and a free rechargeable frother when you use code MAYO. That's MUDWTR.com, code MAYO for up to 43% off. And when they ask how you heard about them, make sure you tell them the Pat Mayo Experience sent you. Just very quickly in the recent form discussion that there are a few other guys that would fit the trend of very high-end finishes. You see Ryo Hitsatsune would be one who just has a bunch of top 10 finishes, had 3 in a row. Morikawa would fit that with a win and a T7, looking like another good result at Bay Hill. Ryan Fox, if he can move his way up the board. Maybe Adam Scott Pierce and Cootie, my main man. He has a bunch of top 20s so far this season. So when I'm writing out that report of, hey, here's how they finished coming in, here's the past champions, here's what they did entering play, these guys would fit that list, in the top 15, top 10, win previous in that season. Matt Fitzpatrick, if he can grind his way back up, would have 3 top 15s to start the year as well. That's another good way to look at things. Other than that, who do we have? Thigala has been playing some really good golf, although I don't like his spray and pray type attitude off the tee. Although if it's working at Bay Hill, it can work at the Players, that we know. Other than that, that's kind of it of guys who fit the recent form. Akshay would as well, T3, T6, T16, after starting the year with 2 cuts, and he's inside the top 5 as we speak right now at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. But let's jump back over to the main page at the rabbit hole and try to really dig into this. We'll see if anyone's built out models. Am I the first? If you click on the X, Noonan's already in here. Ryan Noonan beating me to the punch so far this season with his model. Let's see who he rates out right here. So you can always load up anyone's under the expert reports if you have a membership. Again, it's just $1 with code Sawgrass at betspertsgolf.com. Scheffler is number 1. Siwoo, Tommy, Henley, Morikawa, Hideki, Rory, Spawn, Cantlay, and Akshay are the top 10 in his. Then you got like Mav, Fitz, Gerard, Griffin, Aaron Rye is interesting. Another Wyndham Championship winner. Straka is number 20, Xander's number 21. We'll see if ours ends up being markedly dissimilar to his, because if it's somewhat in conjunction, you can mix some of the models together. I'm going to be looking mainly, obviously, at strokes gained approach, and this is going to hurt Scotty Scheffler in the short term. So we're going to go past 3 months, and we'll go strokes gained approach. We'll go approach 2026. We're just going to throw that one in to the model right away. We'll take, we can filter by conditions because you don't have to hit driver here. You don't have to. You can. You don't have to hit driver, but we can call this a less than driver event. I think that we can call it less than driver or mix. We can put both of those in because you can take either off the tee. We're going to apply that, and we're going to put out the time frame here because, as you can see, 16 events, 12 events. We have some short-term modeling for some stuff. Other stuff we're just going to go to past 18 months and see who the best players are in that. Overall, it's Michael Brennan, Scotty Scheffler, Smotherman in these mixed and less than driver courses. Goddard, Rory, my main man, Shooter Sean Yella Miraju. It's only 12 rounds. He's playing like okay again in Puerto Rico. Maybe that's a Canadian I need to get on, not Pendrith. Connors, Mitchell, Morikawa, Kitayama, Davis Thompson, Rico Hoey, they're all up here in these strokes gained off the tee. Strokes gained off the tee, mixed, past 18 months. We'll chuck that in. The other new feature that we've put in, so if you've been missing it from Fantasy National, the par 4 efficiency metrics, they're all in here now on the rabbit hole, the 400 to 450, 450 to 500, 500 plus. That's what we're going to be looking for here if you want to go to the key par 4 ranges. I just like par 4 scoring average in general, so we're going to do short and long term for this as well. We're going to go P4 long term, long T. We'll chuck that in, and then we'll go to par 4 scoring so far this season. And we'll go to the past 3 months again and chuck in the par 4 scoring, the par 4 average. Or you can just have strokes gained par 4. Let's just try that. SG P4 last 3 months. Joel Damon, number 1 in that category, along with Scheffler, Bridgman, Fleetwood, and Shane Lowry. Xander, Rory, Davis, Riley. There's my main man, Noren, another guy I lose money on every week. Had a very nice Saturday, though, at Bay Hill. Nico's super interesting here because this is a shot maker's course, and Nico ended up making the cut at Bay Hill, but his approach play has been really bad, probably from hitting into the water a bunch of times, but his driving's been weirdly good, and he doesn't need a ton of distance. He can hit fairways at shorter courses, and he scores on par 4s, and if he gets the right pin positions, he can kind of go nuclear. I don't know if I want to bet him to win, but 6,800 on DraftKings. Ditto with Haotong Li. Haotong was the late entry into the Arnold Palmer Invitational after the Nap WD, but he, like Siwoo and Minwoo and Hideki and Ricky and Nico and all these guys, are beaten up on par 4s so far this season. So if we go over to the model, I just want to make sure that I have everything that I need to have in so far, and I do. So yeah, last 3 months and long-term par 4, so we have those ones in. The other thing that we can go to And this is a new feature as well. It's called Approach Scoring Opportunities. So this is a bit difficult to parse. And Blickle and I talked about this on last week's show, that it's hard to look at particular buckets of players and say 100 to 150. How you can see how good they are, but these players don't end up in the same buckets over time. So you got to keep that in mind too, that I'll just use Michael Brennan as an example because he hits the ball so far. Rory, in the same way too, is that they're going to have more of the closer approaches than someone like Russell Henley, who just simply does not hit it as far. But you can look at all these buckets and it's more advanced than the old opportunities gain metric because we have each of the ranges that we can look at and how close they hit it. So the percentage of approach shots hit inside 5 feet, 10 feet, and 15 feet from all of these ranges. Now, the absolute best scoring opportunities you see from 100 to 150 yards so far this season, past 5 months, we're going to take off these conditions. We're going to reset the filter so we don't use just the mixed courses. We use all the courses that we've seen. Henley is number 1 in that category from 100 to 150. Nicolai, Griot, Noren, Fleetwood, Akshay, Wyndham Clark, Siwoo Kim, Austin Smotherman, and Mac Meisner are up there as well. But guys that we've seen do pretty well at the Players in the past. Like Noren has a top finish, Fleetwood has top finishes, Akshay was 3rd or 6th a year ago. Wyndham Clark has a runner-up. Siwoo is a former winner. But maybe that's too close for your liking. Maybe you like the inside the 10%. I haven't figured out the best way to parse through all this data as of yet and which is the most predictive. But there's a great opportunity to use these tools that maybe you have the inside path to this. You know, like Brian Campbell is great from 100 to 150 to hitting it inside 10 feet. He's also pretty good from, inside 15. So 48% of Rory's approaches this year from 100 to 150 yards have landed inside 15 feet. That's amazing. Rose is second, Gerard, Kirk, Morikawa, Connors, Jason Day, Smotherman, Shooter Shahan, Old Yeller's up there. Lowry, Nicolai, Akshay, Nico, Keegan, Fitz, Henley, Bradley. Now, these other guys may have more inside 5 feet, like the easy birdies, but these are just generating scoring opportunities from this range. The other guys who are really good in this regard in both, as you'll see, Ryan Gerard is 41% inside 15 feet from 100 to 150 yards. He's 28% from 150 to 175 yards and 22% from 176 to 200 yards as well, inside 15 feet. So generating those opportunities. The best players from 151 to 175, this would probably be the one that I would dial down on this week, that you're just going to see a lot from inside this range, especially on some of the shorter par fours where guys have to lay back, or the more difficult par fours. Hell, you might even want to go to 175 to 200 for the difficult par fours. But the best players from 150 to 175 of hitting it inside 15 feet, Ricky, Scott, Siwoo, Minwoo, Ryo, Hitsasune. Harman is still up there, shockingly enough. And Harman's having a bad year. Very good in this metric. Connors, Grazerman, Fitz, Griot, Gerard, Straka, Fox, Fleetwood, Spawn, Kitayama, Young, Goddard, they're all popping up there as well. And we can go even further down the list. The more difficult shots from 176 to 200, Burns, Noren, Morikawa, Akshay, and Keith Mitchell. So we're seeing a lot of Morikawa, Noren, Akshay, Ryo, Hitsasune are all popping up across all of these. Gerard slips a little bit, but he's still there. Siwoo's still there. Grazerman and Cam Young and Nicolai Højgaard are all still there as well. So they're the ones in these metrics that continue to pop. Hitsasune is also one of the leaders in 200 plus. He actually is the leader from outside of 200 yards, hitting it inside 15 feet the most. It's him, Rory, Siwoo, Marty Dew, Danny Walker, who was top 10 last year at this course, Chris Kirk, Bridgman, Thigala, Lowry, Fox, and Fitz. So Fitz is another one. Rose is up on that list as well. I keep saying maybe I'm going to end up betting Justin Rose. How is he ever? I mean, I don't ever recall him doing well at the Players' Championship, which is kind of crazy to think. Let's take a look here. Justin Rose Players' Championship. Players cut 6th, cut 8th, 23rd. So it's been a bad go for Rose. Old Rosie at the Players' Championship. This would be a nice... He has so many weird... he has a FedEx Cup victory, like championship. Obviously, he won in the playoffs last year. He's won an Olympic gold medal. He only has that one major, twice a loser in a playoff at the Masters. That a Players' Championship, even at his advanced age, actually makes a lot of sense for just the career he has put together and the types of wins that he has. But Hitsetsune is most definitely going on this list. And so is Siwoo, so is Morikawa. The card is shaping up right now. I'm not going to commit to anything this second, but Siwoo, Colin, Akshay, Hitsetsune, Rose. And can I get away from Fitzpatrick? I would love to get away from Fitzpatrick, Straka, and Noren, but we'll see. Just because at least Fitz is a major championship winner. He kind of fits the bill. So does Justin Rose, mind you, in that example as well, that these are guys that can get it done. Hitsetsune, not so much, but he's a young man. Maybe in time that he can win a major championship as well. So the one that I'm going to chuck in here is the 176 to 200. So 175 to 200 scoring numbers so far this season. So that's most of the short-term stuff that I want to put in. You can also go to recent form if you want to do this. If people are ever looking for the rolling averages on some of this stuff, you can find this all here. You can't put these into the model, but if you just want to see what's going on, like the rolling averages, you can see this is strokes gained total. Like over the past 4, shockingly, Nico is number 1 because he won last week. And you can just see how guys have gotten better or worse over time. Like Potgieter has been getting a lot better. Smotherman has been getting a lot better. Even if we go to past 20 rounds, and you can just kind of see it, the color coding makes it super easy in this regard, where guys even like Thigala have been getting better, and Damon have been getting better. Rasmus Højgaard and Adam Scott have been getting better versus their past 300 rounds, past 100 rounds, to the past 20 rounds, and up to the very front. Like Day had been trending upwards, and then he kind of hit the skids the past 8 rounds, especially at the Genesis Invitational when he was not good whatsoever. So this is always a really interesting tool that you can look at. But I want to go to finishing position because this is another interesting one that you can take a look at, where you can see the top 5 percentage, top 10 percentage, top 20 percentage, and that's what I'm going to throw in. I'm going to throw top 20 percentage into the model. That will be our recent form metric. We can try average finish. You know what? We'll do average finish instead. We'll go average finish this year. And that kind of puts in that recent form document that we looked at, that this can be represented in our model as well without just having to go to strokes gain. We are going to go to strokes gain. We're going to go to strokes gain total, just in general. And we're going to take a look at SG total past 3 months. And we're going to throw in putting past 3 months. Putting past 3 months. And we'll chuck those in. Then we're going to filter by conditions, and we're going to go hard because this is a very hard course. So we're going to go to difficult to very difficult scoring conditions. And we're going to go to average strong to very strong fields. We want to give our sample more here. We don't want to just pick from like 8 rounds. We're going to try to find a way to make it as good as possible. We can go to water danger high. We can throw that in and take a look at that. I don't necessarily want to use that right now. Just use all the conditions because I don't want to shrink the sample all that much. The other thing that we can look at is, do we want to look at wind, temperature? There's a lot that you can throw in here if you really want to get crazy in building out a mixed condition model. Like Pete Dye is in here as well. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Course length, we'll go to short, average, and very short course. This isn't very short. We'll say short and average type courses and throw those in. See what it spits us out. We'll apply those filters, and we have nothing for the past 3 months. Let's go to the past 2 years and try to get a bigger sample. Still, we only have like 16 rounds. What is included in this? Let's hope that the Players' Championship is included when we take a look at these. So the Charles Schwab Players' Championship are the only ones that fit these metrics. So that's tough. It might not be telling us exactly what we want to see. So we can go back to the filter. So field strength, let's get rid of field strength and just put it all in to see what that gives us now. See if that increases our sample. It doesn't really for many players. Let's go back. Scoring conditions, we'll go average difficult and very difficult. And we'll throw very short in there as well because we might get some elevated events at Pebble Beach and the Travelers in as well. All right, now we're up to 44 rounds over the past 2 years. And again, we can take a look at what those are if we just click on the number of rounds next to the player's name. So now we have Phoenix, Procore, St. Jude. All right, so we have Southwind in there. We have Phoenix in there, 2 of the comp courses that I like. Travelers, Colonial, Players Championship. The Olympics are going to be in there. So, okay, I'm digging what we're doing right now with where this mixed condition model is at, and we're just going to go to strokes gained total, average, and sort from the way down. Scheffler, Rory, Tommy, Hideki, Akshay, Denny and Day are up there. So is Connors. So is Xander, Straka, and Cantlay. Griffin and Bud Cauley. So guys that have done well at this tournament. So you see like Straka, Cauley, Xander, Connors. Like these are, I mean, Day is a former winner at this event. Akshay was 3rd last year. Rory won. Scheffler won the 2 years before that. So I think this is a good one to put in. So SG total mix conditions we're going to throw in. What are we missing here? Do we want birdie averaged? We probably don't. You know what? We can take a look at what we have in here right now. We'll go to create model, and I have my spike putting spike percentages in there. And we have other columns that are in. What was the first one that we threw in? I was looking at some other stuff and playing around with this. All right, so here are the things that we've thrown in so far. So we got strokes gained approach in 2026. We don't have the long-term approach. Okay, so we have to go and throw that in. So let's go do that. And we will reset our conditions. So we already got what we wanted from these conditions. And we'll throw in strokes gained approach last 2 years. We'll get a really long-term sample approach last 2 years and throw in those guys because that will overweight someone like Scotty because he's been so good over the past 2 years. We don't want to live in a world where he's not going to get back to the level where he was at. Scotty, Victor, Xander, Lowry, Smotherman. Look at him. He's there. And that's in 62 rounds. Morikawa, Siwoo, Hideki, Straka, Henley, Spawn, Aaron Rai, Gerard, Glover, Connors, Kitayama, Nikolai, Tommy, Hoagie. So guys that you would expect to do well at this tournament. The other thing that we can look at, we're going to go to filter by conditions. I do want to take a look at Pete Dye courses and click apply to that over the past 2 years. See who the best players are. It is Scheffler. And then Alex Smalley, who had a really nice run at this tournament. Now, that's probably going into that he played 4 really good rounds at this event last year. He's number 2. Rory, JT, Wyndham Clark. JT and Sungjae look terrible in their return to play, by the way, if you were wondering how they did coming off their injuries. Wyndham Clark, Brian Harman, there's Straka again, there's Cantlay again, Day, Fleetwood, Hoagie again, and that's in 28 rounds for Hoagie and Hideki Matsuyama. Hoagie has more of these Dye courses than anyone, so we can take a look at how he has done. The Amex, Travelers, Heritage, Players, Amex Travelers, Heritage Players. So, these list of courses with either similar putting surfaces, similar distances. So, Hoagie, how has Hoagie been doing that? I feel like Hoagie's been pretty good this year. He at least had one pretty good run somewhere, I want to say. Just watch out if there's a casino around, because old Hot Dice Tom might end up at the tables. He was bad at the Genesis, good at Pebble Beach, good at the Amex. So both of the shorter courses that they have played on tour. He wasn't very good at Sony, which is a shorter course. He played really well at Amex and pretty well in a signature event at Pebble Beach. You can see where he gained 1.71 strokes on approach because that's what he does at these shorter courses. Total, that's 4.7. And that's one of the best in the field for the week. He wasn't necessarily the best at Amex, but he still did come T8 and putted. His putter has been pretty good this year too. So maybe as a lower-end DraftKings play, maybe as a top 40, maybe as a first-round leader for Tom Hoagie. I believe he holds the course record at Sawgrass as well going into it. So I believe that I threw that in, the Pete Dye. So yeah, we'll throw in SG Pete Dye. And let's go tee to green with this. We'll just throw in tee to green. Dye, tee to green. Chuck that into the model. The other thing that I said that I wanted to look at, and again, we'll take a look at the past 2 years, click off Pete Dye, and just take a look at courses where we'll search for water danger, high, which it is here. I'm guessing this is going to be PGA National, Southwind, and, well, let's see. Let's see what they're counting for Scheffler as high water courses. Phoenix, that tracks. Amex, St. Jude, Memorial, Players, API, Phoenix, the BMW Championship the year before, the Olympics at Le Club National, that tracks. So yeah, and then guys that have played the 3M and other courses are going to be in there as well. Okay, so let's see. Total on courses that have high water danger: Scotty, Hideki, Henley, Tommy, Nikolai, Højgaard. There's Alex Smalley again popping up. So it's not just the Players where he's done well. It's at courses with a lot of water. Mav McNeely, Jordan Smith, and only 10 rounds counted Ludwig, Straka, Siwoo, Rory, Wyndham Clark, JJ Spawn. Again, just leading to a lot of guys that have done well at this tournament again. So we'll put in SG Water. And I think we're about good to go with trying to put in everything that we want now. We're going to go to create model, and we're going to give ourselves some weights here. We got a lot of stuff in here. But hey, this is what we're doing. We're trying to figure out and trying to find some names, okay? Players Championship. Show model. If you want to go search it and you're a member at the rabbit hole, you can bring this up under that expert report. So how are we going to weight this? So I do want to listen. I reeled off how important approach is. So approach is going to have to be the most important thing here. We're going to go short-term approach and long-term approach. 15 and 15. We're going to suck up 30% right away there because approach is going to play into some of the other stuff. It's going to play into average finish, obviously. We have this scoring range, which is all approach. We'll call that 10. The 176 to 200 scoring opportunities inside 15 feet, we'll call that 10%. Off the tee mixed, let's go 10 on that. I didn't put in around the green. I probably could, but maybe that can be... We can think about that in terms of par fours and strokes gained total and things like that. Enough representation should be there for that. We'll go 10 for putting in general for the past 3 months. So now we're left with par 4 average and SG par 4 long-term and short-term. So long-term par 4, we'll go 10, and then we'll go 5 for short-term par 4s. Your average finish coming in, we've seen that's very important. We'll go 10 on that. Strokes gained total the past 3 months. We'll go on the mixed courses. We'll go 5 on that. That mixed condition model, we'll go 10 on that. Now we're over. So let's dump down. Let's not weight the long-term approach as much. We'll drop 5 of that and go to 10. And we'll drop one of the par 4s. We'll go 5 and 5 on just the par 4 scoring. And then we can go 5 for Pete Dye and then 5 with high water danger. And we'll save that as expert report and see what the results get us here. Whoa, I always say if Scotty's not number 1 in your model, you got to throw it out, but he's not in this model. He's just 2 points behind. 3 players stand above all in this report itself. And this tracks because I did put a lot of weight on recent form approach, and I went over how Scotty's not been doing good on that. He's still 3rd, so it's okay. Colin, Siwoo, Scotty, Rory, Kitayama comes in number 5. Those are your top 5. And as you can see, 74, 74, 72 for Scheffler, Siwoo, and Morikawa. They're the only 3 that are in 70 out of 100 right now. The guys in the 60s, you got Rory, Kitayama, Hideki, Henley, Lowry, Akshay, Keith Mitchell, Ryan Gerard, Fleetwood. That's everyone in the 60s. That brings us from 4 to 12 in the rankings. After that, Straka, Cantlay, Hisasune, Xander, McNeely, Smotherman, Damon, Bridgman, Shooter Sean Yelamaraju at 21, Corey Connors, Aaron Rye, Daniel Berger, Ben Griffin, Lee Hodges, Alex Smalley, Nikolai Højgaard, Pearson Coody, Ludwig, Scott, Nick Taylor, Matt Fitzpatrick, Mac Meisner, Hovland Noren, Ricky Day, Spawn, Rose, Bobby Mack, Haotong, Ricky Castillo, and Davis Thompson. So that 12 down through 44 is everyone who's at least 50 out of 100 inside the model. So I think those are a lot of names that we can start to choose from to play on the lower end. But honestly, I can see a lot of my money being sucked up near the top on Colin and Siwoo, maybe even Henley and Akshay. Like, those are the names. And Justin Rose I probably have to go with because I brought him up so many times on this show. But that's where I'm starting to look at right now for the Players' Championship. Those are the guys that I think that I want to be on. Once again, you can get access to everything at the Rabbit Hole using code Sawgrass. Get it for $1 for this week. That's what we're doing for you good people to get you a taste of the Rabbit Hole from the Pat Mayo experience. Highly recommend. It's led to a 70 to 1, 90 to 1, 110 to 1 winner each of the past 2 weeks. You can even watch the research show from last week when I get on and figure out inside the Rabbit Hole how I got on Chandler Blanchett and ended up hitting him first round leader. Fingers crossed he can figure his shit out and end up winning in Puerto Rico. That would be awesome for another 140 to 1 cash, but it's not looking great. at the moment. Not going to lie to you on that front, but he did linger around. He was the leader going into the third round. Either way, code Sawgrass for $1. Get yourself some rabbit hole. Talking about the odds, nothing has dramatically shifted as of yet. And I would caution people right now, depending on where you're playing. So I always recommend coolbet.com. If you're in Canada, outside of Ontario, you can get in on Coolbet. I'll have special boosts up there that give you even better numbers all week long. You can hit the description and go get a bonus over there as well. But whether it's Bet365, DraftKings, FanDuel, if you play in the underdog prediction markets, doesn't matter where you're at, you need to shop for the best numbers. And places like Bet365 will have those each way and placements that you can play. William Hill has the same thing. I think now you can't even know what it's called. Bet Rivers, I think, also has the placements. DraftKings and FanDuel don't. Neither does BetMGM. But depending on the markets that you have access to and that you do want to play, it's all available for you. But unless there's a number that you love right now, just wait until Monday, because these are still technically futures markets that you're seeing before the conclusion of the Arnold Palmer Invitational, which means that they're not really bumping anyone down the list. They're only moving people up the list. So there's going to be some worse numbers on people, but probably not many. Most guys that you see right now, for example, Ben Griffin is 33-1 to win the Players Championship at DraftKings. When he opens on Monday, he's going to be like 75-1. So they're not moving guys down, only up. This happens in every golf futures market. So wait until the market resets before finding some of the numbers and getting the bets in on the guys that you like. I know a bunch of people have Akshay and Colin numbers from Pebble Beach that are really good for the Players Championship. Those don't exist anymore. And they're not going to exist as of Monday, but you might get slightly better numbers. Like Colin is 24-1 in this market right now. That might be what he opens at. It could be 30. Save yourself 6 points. It's a lot of points when you're talking about guys at the very top of the board. Like Rory is still 10-1. If we don't hear anything about his back, he might slip to like 14, 16-1. Who knows? Maybe it remains unchanged and they'll take Rory money anyway. Scheffler coming off a bad week. Maybe he drops from 3 to 4. That doesn't sound like a massive difference, but that's a 33% increase in his odds. That's something you would want to wait for if you're at the very top of the board. So go check that out. Again, I highly recommend coolbet.com if you're in Canada, outside of Ontario. That is it for the research show. I hope you learned something. If you did, smash a like, give me your winner down in the comments section as well, and turn on those notifications in case I just randomly go live at some point this week. I'm praying that I am able to get all of the shows in this week. Hopefully Jeff and I will be with Cust in studio on Monday, me and Blickle and Tambo for DraftKings on Tuesday, me and Keith for the final word on the Players Championship on Tuesday at midnight, Wednesday morning at midnight, I suppose, and then 8 p.m. Eastern time. As of right now, I'm doing the live chat here on Mayo Media Network's YouTube channel, so go sub to that right now. The Cut Sweat Live will be up there if I have time to do it. If the baby is still not here or I am not in the hospital on Friday, I'll be doing the Cut Sweats, all right? Because that's not only just for you guys. I love doing it too, and I'd probably just be watching anyway, so might as well make a show out of it, okay? If there's something else you can do for me for free, it is rate, review, and subscribe to the audio podcast. It's a big week for this show, so share the show around, spread the love, and join the free newsletter in the description as well. Thank you all for watching. Good luck at Sawgrass, and I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!